and over to Laura.
Alright, so hi everyone. I'm Laura. I work for the NUS, running a whole host of different sustainability and green themed programmes, from Green Impact Student Unions and Student Switch Off and Green Impact here, there and everywhere. So yeah, I'm going to go through a bit of that and what we do, trying to link it as much as I can to the jobs and climate jobs focus of this conference. So when I think, or when people ask us why NUS is particularly interested in climate change and what's our role within it, we usually refer to this quote from Nelson Mandela: education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. So we know that climate change is an issue that's going to affect our students, and we're in a really influential position in being able to actively engage with the education that those students are being provided in a whole host of different ways. We've got a really strong history of taking action on social justice issues. So say, even before, when NUS had a no politics clause, which still baffles me as to what that was, but we did have that. We still took action on anti-apartheid demos. Here, this is one in 1963, before the no politics clause disappeared. And the student movement really active, taking issue with it on education grounds. And doing things like fundraising money to bring over people who've been exiled, give sponsorship, and even Gordon Brown at the time, being interested in it over in Edinburgh University and stood in his students' union on a divestment platform, so quite interesting. We were quite instrumental in some of the big changes that happened in the anti-apartheid movement, so this is one of the campaign posters that NUS produced, which I'm told from one of our historians from NUS was really instrumental in encouraging Barclays to move out of South Africa. And then equally, with the Chile Solidarity campaigns, we were quite involved with that. So after the assassination of Bond, we had one of our NEC members go and do tours around Chile to go and see what was going on, despite the fact it was illegal and his life was under threat, and then came back and did a big speaker tour to try and kind of mobilise that as an issue. So one of today's big issues, as we all know, is climate change. And regardless of what the Heartland Foundation or any skeptic will tell you, the science says that it's definitely happening. And our students are becoming more and more concerned about that. The research that we're doing now shows this, with over 60% saying that they're pretty concerned about it in some way. And towards the bottom, it's very small when you get to the point of people saying that they're not interested. It's something that most people are really aware of. So we definitely, as the National Union students, need to be taking action on it. So what we do is try and take quite a holistic approach to tackling this, and really thinking about skilling up students and making sure that the economy is something that's ready for a kind of greener transition, I guess. So working with students on the skills that they have, both in their personal lives and what they go on to in their future careers, and then thinking about how we can engage with being actively involved in creating a greener economy. So what we're doing on making it a kind of political issue at the moment is one of our key campaign focuses for the general election. So there's lots of different themes to the New Deal campaign, but one of the main streams is work. As from doing some research previously, and we found that a quarter of young people are really unoptimistic about their future, about the jobs that are going to be available to them. And one of the big things that we're putting forward as a potential response to that is greener jobs. So we're working with UCU and TUC, as was mentioned in the earlier presentations, on this matter. And we are chairing the Greener Jobs Alliance. So we're putting forward quite a strong education for sustainable development focused pledge, looking at what we should be asking of the next government in order to make sure that education for sustainable development is something that's really integrated into the next government's agenda. So on the kind of economy side of things, we do a lot of engagement with organisations, so trying to create greener jobs through engaging with individuals on the ground. So we work with student unions and through Green Impact Student Unions, which is a competition encouraging positive, sustainable change to their buildings and the behaviour of people who work there. We work with around 70 universities and colleges, and then out in the community as well. So we're recently looking at schools programmes that you were asking about up in Scotland. So using a similar model of sort of positive and engagement and really linking that in with the curriculum as well for schools to encourage that change. And I think last year, through this sort of approach, we saw around 40,000 actions completed, which is anything from stickering, getting people to turn off light switches, through to tackling the curriculum side of things, so everything in between, and trying to take people in the organisation on a bit of a journey through this is what sustainability looks like when you first start, and then where you can go into being quite politically engaged at the end as well. So on the student side of things, we're doing quite a lot of work in trying to make sure that students are able to see the connection between sustainability and future jobs that they go into. So we create a lot of placements. One of my favourite examples was working with Manchester College students, and these are a group of public sector students who are interested in going into that area, and we run Green Impact with fire services there. So what we did was get those students to go into the fire service to see the sustainability work that they're doing, and it was a really valuable programme as they're starting to see, in a sector where they wouldn't really be thinking about sustainability, how that links together. On energy consumption, we engage with students in halls, wearing white crown, all sorts of strange engagement ways, but it really does work. Working with students who wouldn't usually engage with sustainability at all, and managing to save around £2 million in energy in the last 4 years in that simple approach of kind of social media engagement on energy. We do a lot on the growing side of things, so setting up student allotments. This year having success at the Chelsea Flower Show, of all places, winning an award for it, but it shows kind of how well this is being perceived by people who wouldn't usually look at NUS and our sustainability work, so that's good. And then finally, we were given £5 million by CACC last year to put into kind of democratically encouraging students to come up with their own projects on sustainability, and this has been amazing to see how unions have engaged with it. Everything from people looking at how to engage with landlords, on making sure that the properties that students go into are green and creating apps and kind of going for a social media focus on that, through to setting up social enterprises as well. So this is the Chili Topman company, and their union is kind of now filled with polytunnels and all sorts of things. In setting up their own business, which is truly sustainable, but linking that in with the curriculum again, so it's something that students really learn through as they're setting this up. But of course, beyond the kind of the skill side and setting up positions for students, there's the really important point, and one that is going to be the kind of new focus of NUS's work in reclaiming the curriculum and making sure that ESD is something that is at the centre of it. We were really inspired by UMSU's Post-Crash Economic Society. I don't know if any of you have come across these guys. They went to my university and had the same problem as I did when you're going to try and learn about economics in general, but you're stuck learning just about neoliberal economic models, and it drives you crazy. But these guys decided they were going to try and tackle that, so they went to the university, didn't have much luck, keep going back to the university, but alongside that, they've been setting up their own curriculum, so their own speaker tours and all sorts of things, which happens every week. So kind of inspired us at NUS as to what we could do. And we also know that students now really care about learning about ESD. So this is our survey that's been done over the last 4 years. Over 80% of students say that this is something they want their universities to be focusing on. And over 60 to 70% say that it's something that they want in their courses and they want to learn about as well. So there's a real mandate coming from the student population on this topic. And if we get it right, the potential for the impact on education for sustainable development is huge. Now, whether you like this stat or not, it is true that 3% of people who attend university, 3% of people attend university, but they take up 80% of leadership positions. So if we don't have students who are coming out of universities who are education for sustainable development literate, we're going to have no hope for those that are kind of controlling power structures in the future. So what our latest kind of campaign and area of work that we're just going into is our responsible futures model. And this is engaging kind of strategically up at the top with universities and colleges in 15 organisations to start off with, to look at how we can encourage ESD to be integrated in any way that we can. So thinking about where are the power structures within universities, what sorts of topics should be included. And then from this creating a stamp so that when students are choosing their universities in the future, they're going to know which ones are thinking in terms of social justice and what's the kind of stamp that we're giving them. So our work is in preparing students for the work of the world, not just the world of work. We know that the world of work needs to change, and we hope that through our various different levels of political engagement, engagement with organisations and kind of setting up green jobs, and preparing students through either voluntary placements or through education for sustainable development is something that we will really, really be able to offer for our future students. That's everything from me.
Well, thanks very much. Yeah, thanks both of our speakers for those presentations. Well, we've got